When we serve, it is our opportunity to be a good steward of what God has done for us so that when people see us, they go, wow, how did this person become this person? Why should we serve? What's the purpose of serving? Why should we serve in the church? Why should we serve other believers? And I have 4 reasons why we should serve, okay? So here, we're going to take them for verses 8, 9, 10, and 11. So here's reason number 1. Because serving displays his love. Serving displays his love. Verse 8 says, above all, keep fervent in your love for one another, because love covers over a multitude of sin. First of all, you need to understand something. You can't cover over your sins. The reason we have the ability to love is because the Bible tells us he first loved us. Are y'all with me on that? So again, I'm just going to tell you, when you go to serve, it literally displays not you. When you're standing at the front door, where are my greeters in the room? Where are my greeters? Can I see our greeters in the room? Raise your hand real quick. Man, thank you guys. We love y'all. Listen, when you're standing at those doors and you're serving at those doors, you are not displaying your love for other people. You're displaying the love of Jesus for every person who walks into this place. That's what your job is. So you're literally not displaying you, you're displaying Jesus. That's how important that you are. Where's our people who serve in hospitality in our cafe? Can I see you guys real quick? Where are your hands? Hospitality people. Raise them up. I see someone way back there. I'm looking over here. We had a lot more in the first service right there. They're probably over there serving coffee right now. By the way, when you serve coffee, you're not serving coffee. You're serving a cup of love. Because we love coffee around here, right? But you're actually displaying Jesus. You're displaying him. And God is looking for you to say, display me, put me on display, help people to see me. People see Jesus through our actions in our life. So it doesn't matter. Where are our people who serve in children's ministry? Can I see your hands real quick? All of our children's workers. Look at all these guys right here. Love those guys. Okay, listen, you are not displaying yourself when you're working with kids. You are displaying the love of Jesus for those children. This is what God has called us. Why should I serve? Because it allows me the opportunity to display the love of Christ for someone else. We're displaying Jesus. We're putting him on display. Here's the second reason why we should serve. Look at number 2. Serving engages the supernatural over the natural. Look at verse number 9. Be hospitable to one another without complaint. Okay, I want you to pick up on this. Complaining is not supernatural. Complaining is natural. Okay, how many of you know it's easy to complain? I'm just telling you, it's natural. Okay, let me say it another way. When you spend time complaining, you're actually walking in the flesh. What serving does is it moves us from complaint to hospitality. Hospitality is a level of serving other people, being hospitable to other people. Y'all see that? So you're literally going from the natural to literally walking in the supernatural life that God has promised for you. That's what serving does. You're not doing it with complaint. By the way, let me just say to you, if you're serving out of compulsion, you're saying, well, preacher said I have to do it. I'm sure the love of Jesus is going to come through you really well. But when you realize the power of God is resting on my shoulders for me to be able to serve someone else without complaint, but with purpose, God says, I can show up in your hospitality and people will see me. And listen, it's not a natural thing, it's a supernatural thing. It's something that only God can give you in your life. Are you with me on that? Here's number 3. Serving stewards the grace of God. Look at verse number 10. As each one has received a special gift, employ it in serving one another as good stewards of the manifold grace of God. Okay, first of all, let's talk about grace for a minute. What is grace? There's an acronym, G-R-A-C-E. It's an acronym for grace. It's really easy for you to help you to remember what grace is. It is God's riches at Christ's expense. That's a good way to think about it. There's another way to say grace. Grace is getting something incredibly good that none of us deserved. How many of you are glad that God has given you grace that none of us deserved? We're going to get heaven, but none of us deserved it. We get in because of Christ and what he did for us. How many of you are glad for that? Okay, so when we serve, listen to me, it gives us an opportunity to steward God's grace. I don't know if you ever thought about this, but God's grace is on you, in you, through you, for you. And when we serve, it is our opportunity to be a good steward of what God has done for us, so that when people see us, they go, wow, how did this person become this person? Literally moving from the natural to the supernatural, you are stewarding something incredibly special, not cheap. Okay, it might be free grace, but it's not cheap. It costs a lot to get you to this place. And we get the privilege of carrying the grace of God everywhere we go. And this verse says that when we serve one another, we are literally stewarding the grace that God has placed upon us. Is that pretty good? Carrying God's grace. Here's number 4. Serving causes us to know God. And I would say it like this. Serving causes us to know God in a deeper way. When I was saved at 6 years of age. But I'm just going to tell you, I did not know God then like I came to know him when I was 18. 18 is when I surrendered, when I told the Lord, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it for you. And he called me to pastor. He called me to preach. Here's what I want to tell you. From 18 to 24, when I was 24 years of age, I took my first senior pastorate at 24 years of age. Trust me in this, I did not know God at 18 like I discovered him at 24. By the way, at 24 years of age, I did not know God like when we started this church 17 and a half years ago. And I had discovered new things about God. Listen to me. You're going to spend a lifetime moving deeper in the presence of God. But you know how I got there? I got there because I learned how to serve. Look at verse 11 so that you can see that more clearly. Verse 11 says, whoever speaks is to do so as one who is speaking the utterance of God. Speaking is a gift of service. Some of us serve through our mouth. Some of us serve through our hands. But we all serve. Can we all agree with that? Okay. Here's what he's saying. When you speak and you're serving the Lord through your speaking, you're literally speaking the truths of God's words. It's an utterance that comes out of your mouth. Literally the utterances of God that comes through you. And then he says, what about someone who does with their hands? Well, whoever serves is to do so as one who is serving by the strength which God supplies. Okay, I'm just telling you, what I have found out over these years is that when I serve, I move into deeper levels of knowing who God is. I got to thinking about this as I was preparing this message, and I thought, I love to watch people. Do y'all like to watch people? I'm a people watcher. I just always have been. When Lisa convinces me to go to the mall, my favorite thing to do in the mall, which going to the mall is not my favorite thing to do, but when I go to the mall, my favorite thing to do is to sit out in the main area in a chair and I watch people. I just watch people. One of the things that I do here at the church is on Sunday mornings, every Sunday, I try to be in the lobby. I don't know if y'all know that or not. It's actually kind of a declaration statement that I've made for my life because I don't want to be that pastor that hides from people. And so every weekend I try to be out in the lobby. And here's what I'd say. By the way, if you haven't met me, come meet me. I'm just a human being. I'd love to meet you, talk to you. Listen, it's no big deal, okay? Come meet me. But one of the things I'll do in the lobby is different than the mall, but kind of like the mall. The mall, I sit down and observe people. When I'm in the lobby, I stand and watch people. And here's what I found. As I'm watching people, I watch traits of habits and character that God has placed in our servants. And I think to myself, man, I so wish I was more like Jesus like they are. Have you ever done that? Just watch people. You see the smile on their face. You see the joy in their heart. You see how they treat people. You see how they love to talk to people. You see how they interact with people. And I think to myself, I want to be more like, now I want to say this very clearly. It's not that I want to be more like them. I want to be more like Jesus who made them like they are. Does that make sense? So here's what's really happening is, when I'm seeing that happen in people's service, what's really happening is challenging me to be more like Jesus, like they're more like Jesus. That's what service does. And you are putting Jesus on display every time you serve. Wow. So the question is, why should I serve? And you have 4 answers now that should convince everyone in the room to say, you know what? Service is important because it'll develop me to becoming more like Christ.